Okay, first of all, thanks to the European Covered Bond Council to give me the opportunity to present this research that I'm doing on social housing and climate change. So the focus will be try to understand how social housing may be affected by climate change, and even most important, how we can support investment in social housing in order to reduce the impact on the environment. Let's try to set the general framework. Here we have some data that are useful for us for understanding the problem of social housing and the impact that the social housing may have on the market. Talking about the problem of social housing, here you have a plot that is telling us the role of social housing on the overall stock of housing. If you look at the red column, this AU, on average, EU has only the 8% of social housing with respect to the overall stock of residential units. That is not a big percentage. There are outliers, like for example Netherlands, that they are offering more than the 30% of their houses as social housing, but there are also some countries like Italy, like Spain, like Portugal and so on, that they have less than 1 or 2% of stock of social housing with respect to the overall amount of housing. So there is, first of all, a problem related to a lack of supply for some countries in EU. Here we have a second plot related to what? Who is spending money in EU and worldwide for investing in social housing. As you can see from this plot, mainly the money is coming from public entities. That could be national authorities, could be in red, or regional or municipal authorities in orange. In some cases you may have no-profit or limited profit institutions that are investing in social housing in yellow, and we have only few cases in green in which there is money coming from private entities invested in social housing. So the additional problem that we have is that there is not enough money coming from the private sector invested in social housing. One last slide in order to set the framework. This is a new rule applied in EU. So the European Commission on April 2025 issued a document. The name of the document is Model for Financial Instruments and Grants with co-financing from European Investment Bank Group and other affordable housing. So the idea of this document was to highlight what are the solutions available for investing in social housing. There are standard solutions like loan with guarantees or grants and so on, but what is important for us is what is highlighted in red, that is the opportunity to use money coming from AB also for investing in equity or quasi-equity financial instruments. What does it mean, equity or quasi-equity? Means real estate mutual funds or real estate investment trust. So there is room for investing also money coming from the EIB directly in real estate mutual funds or in REITs. So now the question that we want to analyze is why it could be useful to exploit this strategy of investing money through the real estate investment trust or through the real estate mutual funds. Before going to the real estate investment trust and the real estate mutual funds, only some highlights from the literature about why it's important to have private capital in the social housing. Here there are some references that are telling us what is the current framework of social housing in EU and also worldwide. First of all, when we try to run an energy efficiency program, so we try to support the transition from brown houses to green houses, a lot of people, families that are low income may suffer from an exclusion from this opportunity because they don't have enough money for supporting this type of program and to support the investment that has to be done on the houses. What else is important is that the current stock of social housing in Europe but also worldwide is not energy efficient. So they need to collect money for doing investment and improve the quality of the stock of social housing that is already available. There is also a cost of energy property for everyone that is living in a house that is not energy efficient. So all the families that are living in social housing stock, normally they suffer of a lower quality of life due to the problem they have in the houses and the higher cost of energy they may have. The energy retrofitting can be planned also for the social housing, and there are already some plans for doing it. But the main problem is that the payback, so the time necessary for recovering the investment, is frequently too long for a policymaker. So the policymaker is not interested too much to do only with public money this type of intervention, because the time necessary for recovering is too much and they cannot take advantage from it. So our idea is quite simple. We want to study where the private money may go and what is the role of private money in supporting social housing and energy efficiency in social housing. Our focus will be only on some of the private money that may be provided for social housing, and so we will focus on REITs, so real estate investment trust. We collected data from a database that is LSEG Data Analytics about all the REITs worldwide operating in the residential sector, and we classify them by distinguishing the traditional residential REITs, so those that are investing in houses that are not classified as social housing or affordable housing, with respect to the category that is relevant for us, that are the REITs that are specialized in social housing. And our focus is on the performance, on the type of investor that are bringing money to the REIT, and also on the energy efficiency of the portfolio owned by these REITs. So we want to understand if it's convenient to invest in social housing REITs, who is willing to invest in social housing REITs, and if these REITs are really able to do investment in the properties in order to increase the energy efficiency of the buildings. Okay? First plot over there. Here you have two indexes, equally weighted ones, of the residential REITs, the one in the sample that I described before, that are the blue line, and the social housing or affordable housing REITs that are the orange line. As you can see easily from the plot, the trend is almost the same, so they are performing almost in the same way, and they show a strong correlation. If we do a simple pairwise correlation on the time horizon from 28 to 2025, the correlation is more than 74%. So this means that it's profitable, like investing in residential real estate, to invest in social housing, okay? Buying REITs that are doing it. Here we have something else, always on the same data. Here we are trying to identify when you perform better by investing in social housing with respect to investing in residential real estate. What you can see here on the top is the number of months in which you outperform by investing in social housing with respect to the investing in the other residential units. And here on the bottom you have the opposite. So when it's more convenient to invest in residential instead of investing in social housing. Let's look only at the percentage that you can see over there. It's more frequent that you outperform by investing in social housing REITs with respect to residential REITs, with respect to the opposite scenario. So you have a probability of 57% to earn more in 1 month by investing in social housing with respect to investing in other residential units. And when you invest in social housing, on average, you earn more, 4%, when you are lucky and you outperform the other residential units, with respect to what you can lose when you are unlucky, and so in the month, the performance of social housing is lower than the performance of other residential units. So this is telling us that there is also an economic reason for doing an investment in social housing, so it could be also profitable, okay? And here we have something about who is investing money in these social housing REITs, okay? You have on the left, these three columns are related to all the rates that are residential, and here you have all the rates that are social housing ones. Let's focus only on the blue and the gray column that you can see over there. The blue column is telling you what is the role of the top investor, so the larger one, that is buying the shares of the rate. In the residential rate, normally the larger investor is owning around the 20% of the overall share. Here we are talking about only institutional investors, so large players. In the, let's say, social housing area, this is no longer true, because in the social housing area, the top investor has only the 5.5% on average of the overall shares outstanding of the rate. If we look at the top 10, what we can see is that for the top 10, in the residential rates, the role of the top 10 is around the 45%, while when we talk about the social housing, the role of the top 10 is 54% or even more. This means that we have investors that are buying 5, 4 or 3%, and they are investing a lot of money in social housing, okay? So there are big players that are spending money in the social housing, even more with respect to what can happen for the top 10 in the residential sector. The next slide, this one, is telling us who are these guys that are investing money in social housing. Here you have the plot. In orange you have always the residential rates, and in blue you have the social housing. And you have here listed on the right the top investors for social housing. And this is something that could be different with respect to our expectation, with what we normally expect for social housing, because in this list, the one that you can see here on the right, there are mainly profit institutions that are investing in social housing rates for taking advantage from the performance. So the top 5 categories of investors are investment advisor, hedge funds, bank and trust, pension funds, and the last one are research firms. Okay? So here we don't have no-profit institutions that are among the top players or the top investors for the rate. If we do an additional analysis and we focus on what is the purpose of the strategy adopted by these investors for buying social housing rates, we can find something else that is important for us. These are the strategies declared by the investors that are buying the most social housing rates. As you can see over there, the strategies that are more relevant are core strategy, value or growth, so essentially low-risk strategy adopted by investors. We have also a strategy that is called GARP. GARP means grow at a reasonable price, so a strategy in which you don't want to maximize the return, but you are taking care the most about the risk assumed. And we have also an indexing strategy that could be the motivation for which someone is subscribing the social housing rates. There are also hedge funds that are investing in social housing rates, but in this case they are investing on it mainly for diversification purposes. So it's not the main asset they have in the portfolio, it's one of the assets they include in order to have some diversification advantages. Last slide that I want to share with you is a slide about one case study, so it's not an evidence on the overall market, but it's only one case study. About what? About energy consumption of properties owned by REITs that are classified as REITs investing in social housing. So you have in green over there, green-blue, the energy consumption of this case study that I selected for you. And on red, what you have is the average amount of energy consumption for every residential real estate investment trust, considering all the properties owned by this real estate investment trust. As you can see easily from the slide, when we invest in social housing through a rate, we are able to save more energy with respect to what you can achieve when you are investing in traditional residential units. So there is room, if you are a specialized player in the social housing industry, to take advantage of investing in social housing, not only for the performance that you may achieve, but also for the possibility to invest money in improving the quality of the asset and reduce the energy consumption related to that type of asset. This is only a case study, this is not the evidence of the overall market, but is already an evidence that is telling us that there is an opportunity of using social housing rates for achieving the goal of reducing the energy consumption. What we can say at the end, what we can point out from this analysis. First of all, when we talk about social housing rates, they exist. They are in the market, they could be a profitable investment opportunity. Investors that are subscribing the shares of a social housing rate are not only no-profit institutions, but they are frequently profit companies that are looking for this type of investment only for maximizing the return. The strategy adopted is normally a low-risk strategy, so the investor that is focused on social housing is mainly looking for the investment that are low-risk one, core one, and there are some benefits also in improving the quality of the assets when they are owned by a vehicle that is specialized in social housing. What is missed and what we are trying to study now? We are trying to study more risk-adjusted performance measure on the same sample in order to identify if by analyzing a risk-adjusted performance measure we can find the same evidence of the analysis on the performance. And we hope to find the same results. We have already found some of the results that are in line with the previous analysis, but we are still doing some robustness check on the data and on the results. Lastly, and this is probably most important, we want to understand what is the return that you can achieve by doing CAPEX, so by investing in the improvement of the buildings, if you are a REIT specialized in social housing. What we want to underline is the return that you can achieve by doing this strategy, by improving as a REIT the quality of your buildings in terms of energy efficiency. There is already evidence that there is a return, but for the social housing and for the REIT specialized on social housing, there is no evidence worldwide that is telling us what is the return. So this will be the two next steps of this research that is trying to link the social housing investment with the energy consumption and the energy efficiency of the buildings. If you are interested to know more, every update about this research will be published on LinkedIn, and if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, you will get updated about this research and the new output of this research. Thanks for attending. I'm here if there is any question that you want to do.
Thank you. Yes, I have got one question. And it feels like a very significant outperformance that you highlighted, but the risk adjusting point, is it possible to say from your data that that is because it has a higher beta in a rising market or a lower beta in a falling market, or does it outperform non-social housing investments in either direction?
So what I can tell you is that if we consider a subsample of the analysis, so if we don't consider a long-term analysis like the one that I provided you, the evidence that I showed you is not fully confirmed. So in the short term, you may have that residential real estate is outperforming with respect to the social housing real estate. So if you want to invest in this type of area, what matters is also the time horizon, because on time horizon that are longer than 10 years, the results that I showed you are confirmed and you can trust them. But if you want to invest only for 2-3 years, probably residential real estate will be much better, or even the commercial real estate will be much better than the social housing. So there is also an issue of the time horizon that will matter on the result that we are describing now.